In today's video, we're going to talk about how to reboot your metabolism.
All by myself.
What's going on, guys? This is Paul Revelia from ProPhysique.com, and this is Stephen Beaugrand from ProPhysique.com. That's right, Stephen is my coach, and as many of you know, he helps me out with some school. He's getting his master's degree in exercise science, so he is supposedly the brains in this operation. But for today's video, I wanted to bring him in because he's got a lot of experience on the topic, which is going to be how to reboot your metabolism. But first things first, why are we twinning? Well, you see, we are going to USAPL Raw Nationals in Orlando this October, and so I thought it'd be cool for the team to get some matching shirts, so I had a bunch made up. So if you see us walking around twinning with some Team Pro Physique, I think mine says Coach, his says Uncle Steve, that's why. So for today's video, I thought it'd be fun to just show these off. So let's get to the topic at hand. The topic is the idea of rebooting your metabolism, and here's why I want to talk about it. Because every time I check out at the GD grocery store, there's a magazine that says, eat these 3 magic foods and you will reboot your metabolism. So Steve, why don't you explain what metabolism is?
So when we talk about metabolism, we're actually talking about the total energy expenditure of your body as a whole. So that doesn't just include things like exercising, weightlifting, repairing muscle damage, but it also is going to include things like breaking down protein to digest, things like your heart beating, your lungs contracting, every single process that goes on in the body and the energy expenditure associated with that.
Yeah. So basically, all the chemical processes that are going on in your body all the time, whether they're voluntary, involuntary, is going to impact your overall energy expenditure, right? And so what happens when we diet or we restrict calories for a long period of time is those chemical processes become a little bit more efficient and requires us to have less food intake to sustain our lives. This is how we survive in periods of lower calorie intake, as there's been through the history of humankind. What the problem is here with, in my opinion, with this reboot your metabolism is when we think of reboot, and this can be up for dispute, but when I think of reboot, I think of, my computer's frozen, it's not working. I'm gonna hit a button, it's gonna restart, and when it restarts, all the programs and the processes are refreshed, and it's working like new again. Let's talk about why, with a metabolism, that may not be the case. Go ahead.
So when we're talking about metabolism, really anything to do with the body, we are talking about an actual adaptation, right?
Yes.
My preference is to use the word adaptation because we adapt to long-term stimulus. It is not something that's quick, and it's not something that is quickly undone. Now, when we say change can be short-term. Adaptation really shows the point. So our metabolisms, our metabolic processes, the way that our body deals with food is based on survival. That's what our bodies are meant to do. We're meant to survive. So we have to take into account your entire dieting history. If you're a competitor, that means how many preps you've done, how long-term they've been, how intense they've been. If you are just a general health client still, your dieting history, how long have you been dieting, how often, how has your weight rebound been afterwards, post-diets. So there is a lot of lifetime history that you have to take into account that is influencing the metabolic processes of your body.
That's why online calculators are, they're good in theory, but they're pretty much terribly practically because they don't actually deal with the information that you put in that's related to you. It's related to a calculation based on averages and nutrition history that somebody came up with years ago, and they plug it all in. And in theory, it should make sense. And if you have no idea about nutrition, maybe it's a decent starting point, but they are not related specifically to you because metabolism has more to do with your history of eating than to do with your height, weight, race, gender, all that stuff, okay? It's more about how you treated yourself over the last, couple decades if you're an old guy like me. So What I don't like about the word reboot is that it implies that you can make a huge change to your metabolic rate in a short period of time. So let's talk about something like a 10,000 calorie challenge. When you take in 10,000 calories, there's going to be a pretty large shift to your metabolism over that 24-hour period.
Right.
That's what we call an acute change. This is a change where, yes, for 24 to 48 hours, maybe 72 hours, your body is going to be working overtime, and you'll see a huge shift in metabolic rate.
Correct.
The problem is, you're also going to see a huge shift in fat storage.
Absolutely.
And some other negative things. So if you want to reboot your metabolism, yes, eat lots of food all the time, your metabolism will speed up. I'm certain there are some very obese people who have fantastic metabolisms based on how many calories they need to keep their weight up.
Yeah.
But a fast metabolism does not equal a healthy person.
Correct. And the data would support that as well, is that a lot of people who are overweight actually have very healthy metabolic processes. The trade-off that you have on that is that, again, you're going to get more of a bang for your buck in getting your metabolic rate up, but you're also going to store more body fat during that time.
Right. Yeah, so that's what we're dealing with here when we talk about like fat loss and weight loss. Stephen and I are both coaches, and when we deal with someone who's interested in fat loss or weight loss, and they're in a position where it's going to be very difficult because they're metabolically adapted to low calories, they've been doing lots of endurance, they've basically been creating a deficit for a long period of time, when we have to have the conversation about restoring metabolism, the problem becomes then they walk through the grocery store when they're checking out and they say lose 21 pounds in a week and reboot your metabolism simultaneously. This is where I have a problem. I think it's only through education and discussion that we can actually kind of correct these terms.
Yep.
So we basically just wanted to get some information out, talk about the idea of what is metabolism, the fact that you're not going to be able to reboot your metabolism in a short period of time. Now, I have seen some cases where it's been very successful, kind of a controlled reverse,
yes,
able to improve body composition, things like that, but it's still something where the client or athlete had to pay very close attention
yes,
to what they were eating and doing on a daily basis. So what we call that is a reverse diet. Another term would be metabolic building. Basically, the goal is someone that's kind of got an underperforming metabolism, we start feeding into that. Even if their goal is weight loss, we maybe have to get them to eat more food over the course of a few months or even longer before we can start fat loss again.
Right.
So that's basically what this video is about. It's just the idea that rebooting your metabolism, it's not going to be as simple as a computer reboot.
Oh, definitely not.
So
it takes that work.
Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, well, when we talk about the reverse dieting, I think that a lot of what we see with reversing is best case scenarios.
Yes.
People who eat more calories and either gain weight and get leaner, whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
And a best case scenario is great, but for a lot of people, a realistic expectation is also necessary. So don't be discouraged if you're putting on a little bit of body fat during that reverse,
right,
or if you're only maintaining your current body composition during that reverse.
Yeah.
Because remember, the real goal is that metabolism. You know, the body fat, the body composition goals come after.
Yeah, one of my biggest goals for someone that's kind of in a reverse diet and our goal is to lose fat in the future is to put them in a position where the next time they diet and lose some body fat, they can actually maintain it. Because fat loss isn't really the issue for most people. It's what do you do after you lose fat to maintain that fat loss? And so that's really the big picture goal, is reversing, dieting down, learning how to maintain that through the use of like the new diet skills that you've learned,
right,
and then reverse again. So it can often be several cycles if we're talking about someone who's really overweight or has put on body fat over years and years. So that's it, guys. I just wanted to do a quick video on the topic of rebooting your metabolism because I just don't like that term. I don't like that it implies that it's a simple flick of a switch. It's really not that easy. There's a lot of things that go into metabolism, and yes, there's sometimes like someone will have a digestive issue, a food issue that's causing them to actually have metabolic issues, but still you're going to be adapting to changes over years, and it's going to take time to correct that. So as always, just make informed decisions, and that's what we want to help you guys do. So if you have any questions, you can email us training@prophysique.com and we'll get back to you. All right, guys, have a good day.